Do you believe in the supernatural? I've always been skeptical of this sort of stuff, but after one terrible incident, I think I changed my mind. My name is Simon, and I live in the sunny state of Florida. The beaches are truly awesome here. Every weekend, my family and I go to the beach, have picnics, swim in the ocean, and just have a blast. I love these little outings and look forward to them every Saturday. My mom works at home, and my dad works in a credit company. Many years ago, he founded it himself, and now he has about 30 employees and several branches around the city. Thanks to my dad's business, we have a nice life, and my mother always tells me to go to college as an economist, so then I can continue the family tradition. But the turning point in our life came on a breezy spring day. Dad came home from work very happy, called my mom and me into the kitchen and said that he was buying a new house. My mom and I were surprised because, as far as I knew, my parents were not planning to move. I thought that only I didn't know, but then realized that that came as a surprise to my mom too. Dad, seeing our reaction, started to explain. Turns out a year ago, this one guy approached him and he wanted to take out a large loan and leave this country house as collateral. All documents were signed and the man took out a loan for a couple of months. As the deadline approached, he did not have the money and tearfully asked Dad to renew the contract. Dad went to meet him and gave him some more time. But the next time, the man still didn't have any money. He again asked not to take the house away and that he'd pay him back soon, but Dad had no choice. Since the agreement listed all the possible terms, they all hadn't expired. Dad had the house to himself as collateral and decided to take a short vacation in it with the whole family. He said that if we liked it, we could keep it for ourselves. If we don't, Dad could just sell it. My mom and I were so psyched. We began to pack on the next day we were on the road. It was about a 2-hour drive from our town in Florida to the new place. We sang road trip songs, ate sandwiches, and were in full anticipation mode because judging by the description of the house, we'd get to live in an awesome one. We drove up to a small lake on the shore of which there was this awesome mansion with like 3 stories. It was so gorgeous. There was a ton of greenery and the high gates made it more private, although it seemed to me that this wasn't too necessary because there were no other buildings near the house and it would take at least half an hour to get to the nearest store. Dad opened the front door and we found ourselves in a beautiful, spacious hall. It's so pretty here. One floor of this mansion was the whole area of our old home. For the first time, I wanted to move here for good. I started jumping and shouting in celebration. The parents laughed and were also quite happy. Dad said that now he understood why the old owner wanted to keep this house so bad. This is an awesome place to live. Mom and I ran to the second floor to choose rooms. I went to one, then to another. Each room had expensive furniture, cool paintings. After seeing several rooms, I chose one, the windows of which looked into the lake, and I had my own small balcony where I could spend my free time in the evening. For dinner, we set a table and talked about the house. Dad walked along the shore of the lake and said that the water was incredibly clean and that he even saw a few swans. Mom also managed to take a walk and noticed this magnificent garden where apple and cherry trees were growing. We were very pleased. It seemed that this house was exactly what we wanted, but when nightfall came, I realized how wrong I was. The light from the moon slightly illuminated my room. I heard the waves on the lake, how the birds chirped quietly, and I was so calm. I closed my eyes and was almost asleep when I heard some noise in the yard. I went out onto the balcony and began to peer through the darkness, trying to see what it was. A white shadow flashed behind a tree and disappeared. What was it? Probably a yard dog, or it just seemed. I shrugged it off and went to bed again. At breakfast the next morning, we discussed our plans for the day. Mom said that she needed to buy new dishes for the house, and Dad said he needed to go to the bank to do some work. My parents asked if I wanted to go with them or to the city or just wanted to stay at home. I didn't want to go anywhere and decided to stay. When they left, I got my laptop, played songs from my favorite band and started to dance and sing along. It almost seemed as though the swans could hear me sing. I felt so good, closed my eyes and danced. Suddenly, the song stopped. I went to my computer and saw a black screen. I realized that the lights were out. Frustrated, I went up to my room, took out a book, and began to read. Suddenly, from the ground floor, I heard a noise similar to a howl. I got scared, and the howl got louder and louder, and it seemed that it was approaching my room. I looked at the door with horror and quickly ran to close it. My heart was pounding wildly. I knew for sure that there was someone in the house besides me. I started looking for my phone, but it was nowhere to be found. Damn, it's probably in the kitchen downstairs. Okay, I have no communication, and there's someone in the house besides me, either a person or animal or maybe something else. Suddenly, I heard a creepy, quiet voice say, "You have disturbed my peace, my house. I will take revenge with your tears and with your blood." At that moment, I was ready to jump down from the second floor and run. You won't believe how scared I was. I prayed that my parents would come quickly, and to my relief, I heard a car pull up. Ugh, I'm saved. I ran onto the balcony and began to call for help. "Mom! Dad! Someone's in the house!" Dad immediately ran in. Mom followed him. I heard them going up the stairs and opened the door for them. I told them what happened. Dad went to inspect all the rooms in the yard. Later, he came back and said that he had found nothing. Not even footprints. "Maybe you just imagined it, son," Dad asked. I shook my head. I knew it was real and that someone was at our house. Dad said that he'll sleep on the couch tonight in my room to make me feel safer. It was night again. I was scared to close my eyes, but my dad calmed me down. After a while, he fell asleep, and I lay looking out into the window. Terrible thoughts crept into my mind. As soon as I began to fall asleep, I heard the same howl, but this time somewhere far away. Terrified, I was preparing to wake my dad up. "My home, my fortress. You have stepped into my territory." Hearing the same creepy voice, I couldn't take it anymore. "Dad!" Dad quickly woke up. "Dad, it's that voice again!" Dad got up from the couch and ran downstairs. I was too afraid to move. Suddenly, I heard someone shouting for help downstairs. Frightened that it was Dad, I quickly went down. I was surprised to see that my dad was holding some guy's arm, and he asked him to let go. "What the hell are you doing here? How dare you scare my son?" Dad said something else, and I realized that this man was the former owner of the house who took out the loan, and his plan was to scare us out of the house so that he could move back. The man begged Dad to forgive him and not call the police. Dad decided to let him go, but made him promise that it would never go near our family ever again. That morning, we packed our things and went back to Florida. My parents decided not to get that house, and I no longer wanted to live there also. Too many bad memories. We drove back to our good old home, and I was happy the creepy lake mansion was very far away. If you liked the video, then please leave a like and subscribe to our channel.
Hello everyone, my name is Muna. I'm a high schooler and it's almost graduation, and I have tons of plans for the future, but there's just one thing. I need money for it. And it's not like I can ask my parents for it because they aren't rich. They can barely afford my potential college tuition. So I decided to get a job. I mean, I think it's a pretty good idea, because legally, minors can work half a workday, and as long as it doesn't affect school attendance, it's fine. As I went to a job center, I dreamed I'd become some kind of assistant to a CEO of a major company. I pictured myself in a clean office, sipping on some sophisticated imported coffee, with the CEO taking me all over the world, earning a ton of money in the process. However, as I entered the center, I was massively let down. I was offered to sort mail at a meat processing plant. Huh? What the hell? How the heck am I supposed to tell my friends I work at a meat factory? I'd be made fun of forever. To make matters worse, there aren't any other jobs available for minors, but they said they'd let me know if there was new vacancies. I wasn't happy, but thought, how bad could it be? Plus, the pay wasn't bad. So I took the job and headed to the plant. Meat processing is the biggest industry in this town, and almost everyone works there. Apparently, many see it as a place for a good, stable income. I always hated coming near this place because I knew animals were slaughtered here. I remember as a kid seeing how the pretty cows were taken on their big trucks and never returned. And as I got older, I realized that sausages and other meat products were actually made in here. This freaked me out, and I vowed to never eat meat again. But unfortunately, I ended up here for real. I hated myself for agreeing to work here, but I desperately needed the money to leave this city and this job. I was surprised to realize that this place was actually very clean, and the people were nice. I got registered on the system and was given my office. Basically, there were a bunch of letters and documents, and my job was to sort everything in the right boxes and deliver them to their recipients. In short, I was basically the local postman. It wasn't very difficult, and sometimes I even enjoyed it. I never went beyond my office, and even started to get attached to it. I was glad I didn't need to go near the cows, and all I was surrounded by were computers and people in suits. There was a whole bunch of mail that day, almost an unbearable amount. It took ages for me to sort through it, but suddenly stumbled upon an absolutely terrible letter. On the front of it was written, "To the CEO of the slaughterhouse, Mr. Joy." Oh no! I have to go to the slaughterhouse where the cows are! I could have never imagined having to go to that place. How horribly unlucky! Maybe I should just throw the letter away and say that it got lost. What do you think? What would you do? While I was panicked, my phone rang, and guess who it was? It was Mr. Joy. He asked me about the letter I just got and said he wanted me to deliver it right away. I said I'd bring it over. He noted that I'll need to be wearing a special hygiene suit. I didn't know what he was talking about, or did I? And then I remembered I was given a package when I started. So I reluctantly put it on and left my office. Even though it was only a 10-minute walk, it felt like ages. I dreaded going there, because even the thought of that place disgusted me. As I walked nearer, I saw cows being driven in trucks, like I saw when I was little, which made me so upset that I burst into tears. Now I had felt like I was involved in this whole thing. In the work area, I found Mr. Joy and gave him the letter. He was quite happy I delivered it to him and said that I didn't look like I had much to do, so offered me some tea in his break room. I thought to myself, I'm upset anyway. Maybe some tea will help. He poured me some tea and left me alone. I was still upset and just drank the tea and cried. After calming down a bit, I made myself comfortable on the break room couch and fell asleep. Suddenly, I woke up after hearing loud noises, glanced at the clock. It was midnight! Oh my God! They left me at the slaughterhouse! Damn it, I was supposed to go to a pajama party today, so my parents wouldn't be looking for me, but they will start realizing I'm not at Becky's house. I realized I had to get out of there. I heard a scary distant scream. Who could possibly be here at midnight? But then realized I need people to help me get out of here. Because honestly, I don't remember the way out. Leaving the room, I went down the corridor, closer to the voice. I entered the large workspace area, and what I saw there shocked me to my core. Mr. Joy was on his knees in the middle of the room. He was tied up, and strange people demanded money from him. Mr. Joy assured them that he did not do anything and that he didn't have the money. They were berating him, but he stood his ground. Then, one of the bandits pressed a button, and a wire with hooks on it appeared. Cow carcasses were usually hung up on them, with deadly saws at the end to prepare to divide them. But instead of cows, a woman hung on one of the hooks. When Mr. Joy saw her, he screamed. She cried and asked him to give them what they wanted. It was Mr. Joy's wife. He was devastated. I stood in shock, unable to move. The wire was getting closer and closer to the saws, and then it hit me. What the hell am I doing? I began to plan what to do, looked around, and saw an electrical panel. Bingo! I ran to the dashboard and turned off the electricity in the shop. The wire stopped moving. A bandit shouted, "Who's there? Find them and bring them to me." I ran and hid in some room, then started dialing 911. And just when the dispatcher picked up, a bandit grabbed me by the leg and pulled me from under the table. I shouted to let me go, and I don't want to die in this slaughterhouse like a cow. The phone remained under the table, and I didn't know whether or not the operator could understand me. I was brought to the main slaughterhouse. They tied my hands and hung me on the wire next to Mr. Joy and his wife. They asked me who I was. Mr. Joy begged them to let me go because I had nothing to do with it. But their main bandit said that I had seen too much and he can't let me live. He made a sick joke that tomorrow the sausages will be particularly tasty. I felt ill and nauseous. My head started spinning. Only thing I saw were the terrifying saws in front of me. The wire began to move again. Mr. Joy screamed. The woman started crying, but suddenly the tape stopped. Everyone froze. "Move her first. Let's start with her, so that he has more time to think," said the main bandit, pointing at me. That's it. I have no chance of escape. I didn't even cry. My fear left me. I lost all hope and simply accepted my fate as I couldn't do anything. I didn't even resist when they moved me. I just stared into space. When my eyes met with Mr. Joy's, he told me, "Thanks," with his lips alone, not a sound. But I could get what he meant. I just smiled at him hopelessly. I didn't even know what he did, but I knew that I was about to die because of him. They tied me up, and the wire started moving again. I stared at the saws, which were getting closer to me. Their buzzing was much louder than any crying or screaming. I closed my eyes and started saying goodbye to my loved ones, to my dream, and accepted that I shouldn't even be mad at these people and just gave up. The saws crept closer. With my eyes closed, I plunged into darkness, and suddenly, I felt like I was just hanging. I'm really hanging. The wire stopped, and I opened my eyes. I saw saws right in front of me. Another few seconds, and I'd be a goner. My hands were really numb, ears were ringing, and I couldn't properly register what just happened. Maybe the bandits just decided to taunt us, and now they will turn it on for good. Or maybe my 911 call was understood. I tried to see what was below, but I could not. Everything was spinning. I was terribly disoriented. I only saw saws, and it was terrifying. Suddenly, the wire went off again. I closed my eyes and screamed. I screamed so loudly that I did not realize that I was actually going in the other direction. I was moving away from the saws. When I opened my eyes, I saw 2 policemen helping me get off the hook. They took me off and gave me to the medics. The rest, I don't remember out of shock. Time had passed, and I had huge news. Today, the chief of police will reward me for my courage. When I left the hospital, I found out that I had become locally famous. Apparently, Mr. Joy was doing dirty business in his meat processing plant and owed the mafia a lot of money. Him and his family is now in witness protection, and the mafia can't get to them. And because of my inspiring story, my whole family decided to become vegan. So after the award ceremony, I've got a vegan picnic and party waiting for me. Also, you want to know something? Now I know exactly who I want to be. And luckily, the police chief wrote some good recommendations for me. And I just submitted my application to the police academy. So I'm doing just fine. And if you liked the video, then leave a like and don't forget to subscribe.